One great thing about this program is it's so versatile. It's
Mhm.
so easy to adapt to whatever the situation might be. It'll work great in a big school that has lots of resources, but it'll also work just as good and maybe sometimes maybe a little better in a smaller school with limited resources.
Welcome to the BJU Press Teacher Edition podcast, where Christian educators are encouraged and inspired as we bring you interviews, practical ideas, strategies, and answer your questions about teaching in today's culture. And here's your host, Jenny Copeland.
Welcome back. We are ready to jump into part 2. Michael Mabe is back with us and ready to talk more about VoTech. In part 1, Mr. Mabe shared his burden and his passion for giving students an opportunity to learn those vocational hands-on skills even in high school. We looked at some examples of skills and topics that can be part of a VoTech program, as well as some ideas for the structure of the program within the framework of a Christian high school. We ended by talking about the benefits of a VoTech program. We had some fantastic discussion, and I am ready to get started again. Just before we do, though, let me encourage you to once again go visit our website, teachereditionpodcast.com, as well as go find us on social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok as Teacher Edition Pod. We're on Facebook as Teacher Edition Podcast. Of course, you can always watch these interviews on YouTube, where we are Teacher Edition Podcast. Okay, so let's get back into this discussion. Welcome back, Mr. Mabe. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. It's good to be back.
Okay, so let's start with an elephant in the room, or in my case, in the studio. For many who are listening, this type of program just seems totally unreachable. Probably most listening today have heard of a VoTech program, but very few will have one already at their school. So talk with us about where would a school even start if they wanted to explore starting such a program? Is this a big, go big or go home scenario, or how can they get this started?
Well, as I mentioned a little bit last time, one great thing about this program is it's so versatile.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to adapt to whatever the situation might be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really a great situation to do it. You can, it'll work great in a big school that has lots of resources, but it'll also work just as good and maybe sometimes maybe a little better in a smaller school with limited resources. And that's what's so great about it. And as we think about some of those things about the resources and implementing it into a full program or a VoTech program, let's stick with a small school, for example.
Okay.
Who has limited amount of resources.
Mm-hmm.
You could start with just one or two of these courses. Say we just started with one, and it's automotive. And I pick automotive because that seems to be the one most popular.
Right.
Just about every high school boy is wanting a car and girl.
It takes something apart.
And girl. And they
That's true.
they enjoy taking things apart, putting them back together. They love using their hands, and they're already talking about maybe getting their license and driving a car. So these are things that's right in their world. And so if you start with automotive, it's going to pique a lot of interest. And usually what I recommend, there's probably someone in your church or in your school, a parent who already has some of these skills. You don't necessarily have to go out and hire a teacher to come in and do this. You could actually make an announcement in your church, make an announcement at your parents' meetings of what you're thinking about doing, what you're praying about, and you're thinking about offering some basic automotive training for some of your high school students. And it could be just for the juniors and seniors, or just, it depends on how big you want to go. If you want to offer it to all the high school students, we actually offer it to all our high school students, 9th through 12th. But you could limit that depending on your resources, or your facility, and where you got, and how many you have interested. And just limit it just to the juniors and seniors. That gives the freshmen and sophomores something to look forward to as they're coming through their high school. And I promise you, in so many areas, because even though I'm on full-time staff and I teach the program, I have parents that are eager and willing to come in and help me, and I use them many times. They'll come in and, hey, we're having I'm teaching them how to change the oil, and I may have 15 students in the class. Well, that's too many for me. So some of the dads will come in who love doing it themselves.
That's
They'll come in
fantastic.
and teach these skills and show the students how to do that. I may go through some safety things in the classroom, and then we'll come right out in the shop. And, I'm sitting in a shop with these hydraulic lifts behind me to pick the cars up where we can get under them, but you don't even have to have that. And in fact, many times when I'm teaching the oil changing part of the automotive, I don't use the lifts
Sure. Yeah, they wouldn't
because
have
they
those at
won't
home.
have that in their
Yes.
home, their
Yes.
garage or driveway.
Right.
So I show them how to do that safely with
That's great.
jacks and jack stands and ramps, so they can do it safely and do it properly, because most places won't have the lift. So
Right.
you can always, that's actually a better way to do it. That way it's practical, exactly what they'll be doing when they're doing it themselves. So as the small school starting something like that, and they talk to the parents, then that would help them decide then maybe what time it would be offered
Oh,
based
sure.
upon
Right. Yeah,
the
good thinking.
parent or church members' availability.
Mm-hmm.
So, they might can't do it during the day because they have a job. So they'd do it in the afternoons, maybe do it
Mm-hmm.
on Saturday. Or maybe I have done it this way before, where it would just go for a week or 2 weeks. And
Oh,
this
mm-hmm.
parent or volunteer he takes the 2 weeks vacation, and he comes and serves the Lord by doing this for these students. And you may not have time to do any more than just teach them how to do the oil changes and check the fluids under the hood. And maybe later you can come back at another time and teach them more things about the car, like the brake system, how to change the tire. All of it doesn't have to be done consecutively, all at one time.
Right.
What's so good about it. And then, so, that'll work great for any small school with limited resources. The tools and things like that, most of the time, if you're just teaching the basics like I'm talking about, it wouldn't include or involve a large investment, a few drain pans and a few, $50 worth of wrenches and sockets.
A lot of rags.
Many times, shop rags, some hand cleaner.
That's right. Protective gear.
Yes. So safety glasses. But, many of those things, you could even ask the parents to say,
Sure.
look, and there would be a small investment for them with, provide, you need to have the student have some safety glasses or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like
true.
that while you're
Mhm.
doing this. It wouldn't be that big of an investment for them either, and save the school a little
Mhm.
money there. And most of the time, the volunteer, the church member, or the parent that's willing to do this, they're going to have their own tools.
True.
They already had this, and they've been doing this for a year, and many times I've found they're looking for a way that they could, use their skill.
Right.
I mean, many parents like to come in and volunteer and do things. Other members of the church are maybe retired and love to do certain things to help out, and they never, man, I can't really coach a ball team. I
Right.
can't really substitute as a teacher. I can't really do this or that, but wow, I love working on my car.
Yeah, good
I'll
thinking.
come, and this is something I can do. It gives
Mhm.
them another opportunity, another avenue for
Sure.
people to serve the Lord. And it helps the students all at the same time. And I've found that many times around the uh, uh, Greenville area here, I can go to some of these businesses, like a shop owner, and tell them, I said, look, my high school students, we're starting a VoTech program there, and we're teaching them how to do some basic things about their car. And we need some tools. We need some help. I have found over 75, 80% of them, 8 out of
Really?
10 that I talk to are willing to help out some
That's amazing.
because they see a young person that is expressing some interest in their field,
Yeah,
and they know
true.
that they're starving to death for good quality workers.
Mhm.
And if they can get a high schooler interested in their field, their trade, their skill, they're willing to invest.
Yeah, it's
And
worth the money.
I've had some surprise you how much they would give and what they would do to help support that program because it's a part of what they're doing.
That's
Um,
great.
just for an example, when we started our welding part of ours, I talked to a businessman and he was so excited about us trying to train some welders. He gave me 5 welders.
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
I didn't need but 2. So
That's
we had actually
incredible.
expanded our program even further than
Wow.
expected. And that it would surprise you how the Lord will open
Yeah,
some hearts of businessmen out there to help out in as we just go out and let them know what we're trying to do,
yeah.
and to help these young people.
That's incredible. Okay, so we've talked a little bit, well, quite a bit about budgets and resources. I mean, that's always at the front of the mind of the Christian educator. You've talked a little bit about tapping into parents and maybe even going to businesses. Did you have any other resources that you could throw out there for schools who are starting a program, no budget or no facilities or very minimal? Anything else you wanted to add to that?
Well, there's always you can go to the local community
Oh,
colleges
great
because
idea.
co- because you're a high school and they're thinking they may get some of these students in their tech school. They are willing to help out also. A local tech school here in Greenville donated some model engines to me where the students could take apart and put back together.
No kidding.
Just to because so a technical college, um, other public high schools in the area I have gone to, and even though we're a Christian school, they're a public school, and some of the public schools do have trade programs that they
Uh-huh. Right.
teach, and they have equipment and facilities that they no longer use that would work
Oh,
great for
uh-huh.
what you're trying to do. So I've been able to get some supplies through other high schools, but the local tech schools are eager to help because
Great idea.
you may be feeding them some potential students.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I know that auto mechanics and aviation, those are two of your passions. We've talked about that a little bit. If you don't mind, let's dissect those just a little bit more. I wondered if you could just give our listeners a little insight as to some of the topics that you cover under those two areas. So we've kind of talked broadly in our topics, but breaking down, I think it would help them to see how deep or how intensely you dig into those topics and hopefully kind of give them a little framework for how this could work in their situation.
Okay, with automotive, like I say, we keep it down to the basic, fundamental things that, and we only have 6 weeks, most likely in each subject. And so when they come into automotive, my class always starts out with safety, and we go over
Good idea.
how safe they need to be when they're jacking a car up. Never get under it without jack stands. Always using safety glasses when you're under a car. So we dwell quite a bit for the safety aspects of it to make sure that they can do whatever they do safely without getting hurt. And there's
Do
sharp
you talk
edges.
about not taking apart mom's minivan without permission? Like where does that fall in this
Yes, we
program?
try to bring that in there. Says do not work
Oh,
on your
good.
own car without permission.
Mom's everywhere, thank you. Nothing like
Yeah.
taking off for school and not having a muffler or something, you
Oh
know?
yes, and go out to leave in the morning. Your tires are off.
Oh, yeah, that's a little
Yeah.
difficult.
Oh, I meant to put those back on, Mom.
That's right.
So yes, so we after the safety aspect of it, we begin to talk to them about first of all how to change their oil,
Mhm,
and so it's just basically the basic maintenance that you would need to maintain your own car,
mhm,
and such as changing the oil and filter, checking the air filter, checking all the fluids on the hood. Sometimes a student will come in with a little bit of that experience. Sometimes they come in and they're not even sure how to raise the hood.
Right.
So we start from very scratch and help them to begin to learn. And those that know a little more, they're reinforcing what they already learned and start from the ground and work our way up. So they'll learn how to change the oil filter, lubricate anything that needs to be lubricated, check all the fluids under the hood, all the filters like air filter and fuel filter and the cabin air filter and some of those basic things that we need to routinely check, and how to change those if they need to. And then we'll talk about the battery and some of the electrical system in
That's
the car.
practical.
How to change the battery. You go out in the morning, your car don't start. How do you determine what's wrong?
And what happens if you do it backwards?
Yes. So how to start the car, how to jump the car off with jumper cables, just some of those basic things like that. And we'll go through that, some of the electrical system and so forth. And then we'll also get into the brake system a little bit, where they can do basic brake repair on disc brakes. Most cars, 90% of your cars now have disc brakes.
Right.
And just to change the pads and rotors and things like that, just to do that basic repair, very simple brake repair. If it gets in too deep, we don't go that far because we just don't have the time for it. But how to safely be able to change their pads and rotors on the car, that'd be something to be very simple. And most of your volunteers would be able to do that. Replace a belt, change a tire, you get a flat tire, and we do this, using what's supplied with the car.
Right.
Raise the trunk, you got the jack in the back of the car in case they have a flat on the highway, they can get out and how safely jack it up with the car jack and change that tire and get safely home. So we take some of those basic things and we'll visit some local shops.
Oh, great idea.
In the area, just to see how a shop operates and show them how, if you coming in here with a car repair, this is where you start first. You have to deal with a service writer, and then the mechanic takes it back here, and this is what they do with it back. So we go back and talk to those mechanics and show them how the shop operates. So they learn some of that without the first time they ever go to a shop somewhere, they're in shock. Because what do I even do?
Right.
So some of those basic repairs.
That's fantastic.
Change a light bulb in the tail lights and a headlight. Some of those basic electrical repairs that do it yourself or to save a lot of money. You
Absolutely.
Go to get oil changes today. You're looking at $75 to $100 for an oil change. So if you can do that yourself and you buy the parts for $30, you saved yourself a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you can help a family member, a neighbor. So it's opens up some ministry opportunities there at the same time.
Yes.
And then you also ask about aviation.
Oh, yes. Talk about that.
With aviation, it's a little bit different. And the reason I'd like to share about aviation is the fact that, you think, well, how in the world can you teach aviation? We don't have an airplane. Well, you can. There's so much online to help you with that. And what we do, we teach some of the basic aviation maintenance, where they some things that if you were a pilot, some maintenance you could do on your airplane, on your own airplane. And if they wanted to pursue this as a career, this is how you would gain your professional license to be able to do it.
Yeah.
This is how you get that training. And then how a plane flies, what holds it in the air, what creates that lift, how all these controls on the airplanes from the flaps and the rudder on the back, how all that works and what it's for, how it keeps that plane in the air, and how what the pilot uses to maneuver that plane in the air, landing and takeoff. we have a local downtown airport, and most cities would have a small airport not too far from their school where they could go for a visit. And we make about 3 or 4 trips during the aviation segment
Oh, that
to the
sounds fun.
airport
Yeah.
during class time. And it takes us about 10 minutes round trip to go there and back. And so we spend about 45 minutes there. And they get a chance to see the airplane, touch the airplane, see how all these controls work. And we make, like I said, about 3 trips to see all that. And I know a lot of the people there at the airport already, so they're really good about allowing me to do that. And you can get those connections. You can make those connections
Sure.
many times. And then we're fortunate, and I know at other places I've had this to work really well, is the local airport usually has a flight school on the airport somewhere.
Oh, true.
So if you go to that flight school, they'll usually help you with this because they're
Interesting.
thinking, oh, here's a potential student that I might could get.
Right. Mhm.
So they would allow them to come there and see how they teach themselves and maybe even help you teach a lesson for you.
Right.
You
Oh, that'd
come
be
over
fantastic.
and hey, look, would you take about 30 minutes and share something about aviation with these students? You could do that 2 or 3 times without having to be an expert,
Mhm.
a licensed aviation mechanic yourself. You could get them to help you out with that. And our local airport and many other airports have this. If they have a school, they have a simulator where the student can actually get in this simulator. It looks like a cockpit of an airplane with all the instruments, and they'll let them fly that simulator.
Wow, what an
I'm
experience.
Yes, I'm able to take my students here to this local school, and they're given about 10 or 15 minutes each in this simulator. They take off, they fly around a little bit, and they come back and land. And it's actually very realistic to the actual thing, and it's safe. So if they crash, it's just a simulator,
Yeah, we'd rather than be in the simulator.
So that really works out really well.
That's
During
great.
our electrical course, real brief on that, it's so much about electrical in a household or in a car, and we touch on a little bit of that. But like in home, if you have a wall socket go bad or a light switch, or maybe you're trying to add a closet or something, you need to wire up a light. Those are simple things could cost you hundreds of dollars if you want to
Absolutely.
bring an electrician in. So the students, while they're in electrical class, we have this wooden board, and we give them some electrical sockets, some light switches, a light fixture, and they have to wire that up and
That is
correctly,
great.
where they plug it into the wall and then flip a switch, and their light bulb has to come on. Their wall socket has to operate a drill or something, so it all has to work. Now, we walk them through all that and teach them how to wire it up and how to do it all safely without getting electrocuted, and how at home, you got to cut these circuit breakers off and
Yes.
show them where all those are. And so they love that. I mean, I used to see students flip that switch, and they're standing there praying before they do it, and they flip that switch, and that light comes on. You're talking about, you think they just won the national
Yes.
championship,
Success. Yes. Right. That's great. Okay, so I know that you have used this program as a springboard for community outreach and ministry. You alluded to it just a little bit. I wonder if you could unpack that just a bit more. I know we're running close on time, but I'd love to hear just some ideas, some outreaches that you have done with your program and the students.
Each year, maybe twice a year, at least once a year, we'll do something like, and we just recently did this about 2 weeks ago. My students who've been through the training and they know a little bit enough about a car where they can change their oil and service under the hood and all those things and check air pressure, and have gotten pretty proficient in that. We will contact some local churches and some of our ministry rescue missions here in the area, and have them send us a list of single moms, widows, elderly couples that just are struggling with finances and just being able to get their car maintained. So we will contact these people and we'll talk to them a little bit and see what their situation is, and then we'll try to set up an appointment where they could come in. And this Saturday, just a few weeks ago, we called some of these people. We ended up having 42 cars.
Wow.
And 15 of my students came, and we worked about 7 hours a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday and serviced all those cars, changed all the oil and filters and all they needed, checked all their fluids, checked the air pressure, made sure they were safe to drive. If we found any issues, we were going to have them come back later to, replace a belt or something like that, and just made sure their cars were better than they were when we got them.
That's incredible.
And so 42 cars, that's a lot of oil filter. That's a lot of oil.
That is.
We went to local businesses in the areas, some of the parts stores and some of the local shops, told them what we was doing, and they donated everything we needed.
Wow.
To take care of that. So we could do that for those people free of charge.
Fantastic.
The students had an opportunity to use their gift for the Lord and see a great satisfaction. These students really loved doing that. And these people would come by, we had a waiting area, and they'd come back through the shop, going back to get their car. Some of them would want to shake the student's hand that done it, or hug their neck,
sweet.
or try to pay them, and says, no, you don't owe us nothing. And students were so encouraged to see how God
the joy
could
in
use
serving.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, when you think about ministry, I tell my students, if you want to think about how God could use a skilled trades, there's a lot of places in the world that you cannot go to as a missionary.
True.
It's closed, but you can go if you have a skill. You could go as a welder to some foreign country, and they will let you come in under a work visa.
Right.
They won't let you come in under a ministry visa, but now you could come in under a work visa, still have your ministry. You have you have a job to do. You wouldn't have to be fully supported.
Right.
Because you'd be partially, at least, supporting yourself with this trade, but still be able to have your ministry in a closed world, in a closed country.
Sure.
And I pray that sometimes my students, and I've had this happen over the years, that maybe God could work in their hearts and lead them in that direction,
right,
as well, to be able to do something like that.
Amazing. Those are great opportunities.
And you think about the workplace is the greatest. It's a forgotten ministry there in the workplace. I mean, we got you go to church, we go to Christian school, and then you go. A lot of these students graduate, and then they go to a job, and then they realize, wow, this is a different world I'm not used to.
Yes.
And there's a great mission field there, and you could go out there as a skilled laborer and trained, and with the Lord's in your heart and life, and be a great witness for the Lord at that workplace.
Mm-hmm. So true. Okay, so as we close, what is a piece of advice you would leave or give to an educator who's listening today, and this is striking a chord with them, and they're considering starting a VoTech program at their school? What would you say to them?
I would say, first of all, if I could help, please contact me.
It's very kind of you.
But start small. Start small. Don't try to eat this elephant at one bite. I mean, little piece at a time. Start small. Start with a skill that you have someone to teach. Whether it's automotive, whether it's welding, whether it's electrical, whatever it is, you'll find someone in your church that's maybe retired from that trade or has a business in that trade, and I had a businessman recently offer to one of his electricians to come over and spend 2 or 3 weeks with me to teach my electrical program. He said,
Wow.
"I'll pay him to come and teach your class."
Wow.
So there's businessmen out there like that will do it. We just got to put the word out and talk to them about it. And there's a lot of that available. So start small and remember that we're trying to connect our work with God's work.
Yeah.
And that was my heart 50 some years ago when I started the my work in the workforce. And then as I go through and started teaching it, I wanted to connect my work. When I first found that bus and got it going, I wanted to figure out a way I could connect my work with God's work. And I did.
Yes,
And
you
now I
definitely
was
have.
able to use my gifts and my hands-on skills to serve the Lord and help these students realize that they need to figure out a way to connect their work with God's work. Not only as in a trade, if they go into business, if they go into a doctor or lawyer or whatever they are, they've got to figure out, how can I connect my work with God's work and serve Him in my workplace?
Right. And you definitely have done that. It's very obvious. You have connected. God gave you talents and you have connected that with doing his work, and you're empowering the next generation to do that as well. And I love that. I am so excited for our listeners to hear these great ideas and how doable this type of program is. It's easy to think, well, we don't have fancy equipment. We don't have faculty experts. We don't have unlimited budget, and on and on and on. But I hope, listeners, you can hear today, you don't need that. You need a burden. God has given our students talents and interests, and what a fantastic opportunity we have to begin to mold that gift and allow them to explore these interests in the arena of a Christian environment, and even while in high school. And that just makes me super excited.
Yes.
Mr. Mabe, thank you so much for a fantastic episode. There's just so much practical information here and so much encouragement for what we can do with our students and for our students. So thank you so much for taking time to be with us today.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed every bit.
And listeners, we will make sure to put Mr. Mabe's contact information. So if you have a question, I know he would be happy to help as well. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you are signing off with lots of great ideas and a burden for what you can do for the students that God has given you to minister to. Remember to go to teachereditionpodcast.com to learn more about each episode and to submit questions for upcoming episodes. Of course, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media. Now it's time to get back to your day, but it's not just any day. Every day in the classroom is your day to impact and inspire through God's power and through His grace working in you. Go do what God has called you to do.